Hello and welcome, guys, to another exciting episode of Zebraman. We were here at Wits to speak to our brother Sonwabile. Sonwabile, my brother, Sonwabile is a lecturer here at Wits. He works in the African spirituality department. He's teaching in that department. So Nwabile, thank you so much, man, my brother, for allowing us again to come and speak into the issues that we are passionate about, the issues of African culture and African spirituality.
Thank you for having me, my brother. It's always a pleasure to educate others about the importance of identities as well as African spiritualities, as well as understanding where we come from and where we are and where we're going. So through the lens of literature, through the lens of public talks, through the lens of research, we are able to position ourselves, as those that are spearheading, this space that was once erased, that was once temporarily oppressed by colonialism, by apartheid, but we are speaking into the realities of resurfacing of indigenous knowledges, resurfacing of spiritual identities as well as spiritual beliefs in the African context. So thank you for having me, my brother. Thank you.
Yes, because we are at one of the best one of the best universities in this country and in the continent. Sometimes we forget that
Yes.
we might praise our own institutions, and then we forget that the people who started with tertiary and university colleges were Africans. The
Yes.
first university comes from this continent.
Definitely, definitely. In that regard, I think we speak now to the notion of decolonizing the institution. As you said, the first university in the world was in Mali, Timbuktu, here in Africa, then followed by others. But for institutions like Wits, university like UCT, Stellenbosch, and so on, they have a rich history of a Eurocentric, approach. So
In
and
preservation
preservation. So even in culture, even in the very the
setup.
setup and the touch of the institution, it still reads, this very very heavy
Eurocentric, yes.
Eurocentric, notion. So you'd find that as time went on, more Africans were accepted into these universities, but now, in terms of culture, there were clashes and certain
Yes.
identities were formed out of being part of these institutions. So it took us a while, even to engage on being accepted with our traditions, with our traditions and history as well, in terms of not just in the classroom, but in terms of aesthetics as well, how you dress. The formation of cultural societies at universities was another way of saying, our presence needs to be felt. We need to step up into the space and own it. But without proper, decolonial methods used in the institution, we'll always be going around and round in circles, as if we are just ordinary Africans in a white or a
White
European
space.
white space that are trying to prove themselves, that are saying these things that, oh, because this is our country, this is our land, we should be,
Accepted.
accepted and validated. But without proper decolonization, we'll always have that small gap that actually invalidates what we're actually pushing forward. So mainly, with decolonial studies, you are looking at redressing your identity in terms of where you come from. If how you are brought into this earth, you need to understand your lineage. You need to understand your space in the institution. You need to understand your space in the community, as well as the communities that were created by the colonial and apartheid regimes. There were no townships in Africa,
No, no, we
but
didn't believe in such.
they were exactly so. Now there were informal settlements that were created by the colonial and the apartheid regimes. Unfortunately, our post-apartheid government did not redress that issue 100% because we still have informal settlements, and
Yes.
unfortunately, that is where a lot of our people lost their identity. But they formed these nuanced, these cosmopolitan, these Afropolitan identities,
Yeah,
which
the
are
Kasi style
yes,
kind of
which is
quick
somehow
fix,
yes, and
if we may use those words,
yes, and it somehow reads as yes, we're African, but we are in the cosmopolitan space. We are not saying that is invalid because of the condition that they found themselves as, that they were migrant laborers who came from their homelands and they established themselves in the cities due to employment and cheap labor of the apartheid government. But out of all of that, a lot of original ethnicity was ripped apart or ripped away from those people, and now they are trying to redress that through the spiritual canon, through the lens of accepting the fact that our ancestors are coming back to address what was actually taken away from them. So, in terms of African spirituality as a teaching method, it allows people to engage into who they are or who they were before, to align their lineages, to align their communities, to actually bring back what was actually erased. You see, so unless the institution is moving towards the direction of a decolonial project, then we will be able to break the barriers and say this is one of the institutions that broke, the barriers of Eurocentric identities and Eurocentric, imprisonment antics. You see, so
yes, and preservation
and,
of
and,
such.
and preservation of Eurocentric culture,
Yes,
which is not beneficial to Africans because Africans are always at the very bottom of that notion as just pure
yes,
laborers and people that were exploited to a sense that they were given, these rather frivolous objects that were as a replacement of the vast majority of the land in this country. So that's where we are slowly but surely moving towards as spiritual teachers. So